So I'm sitting here in my garden after a busy afternoon of teaching English, and I got to thinking, in the dying light of the day, what is the future of learning English and studying English? Who knows with the coronavirus, but it's an interesting point. Uh, will the position of English continue to be number one in the world? To think about that, I think about the history. Why is English the global language? And of course, it's history. It's because England had an empire, 200 years ago? So that's why they speak English in America and in Australia and New Zealand, South Africa, where else? Wherever the British Empire spread, it spread the English language. That was the good thing about the British Empire. There are many bad things about the British Empire. All empires have bad points. But as a result, we're all speaking English. So it's about power, and of course, the English speak English, and now America is the top dog, we say. But of course, America's power is maybe shrinking a little. It's still number one, but the rise of China and maybe in the future India. So will English still be number one in the world? It's hard to imagine that English wouldn't be, but then again, it's hard to imagine that we would all be hit by coronavirus and everything changing and everybody moving online and not being able to continue as normal. So things change. So if you think about history, what's going on over there? They're having problems closing shutters. If you think about history, there may be reason why English wouldn't be the number one in the world. The English-speaking countries are no longer the most powerful. America still is, but America is looking very inward. With Trump, they're almost wanting to get rid of their American empire. Does that mean we shouldn't learn English? Probably not, I would think. Certainly not in our lifetimes, I don't think. Who knows? But if we don't learn English, then we'd have to learn another language. What would it be? French? And French is based on France, which is a declining power like England. Quebec, they speak French. Or perhaps we should all learn Chinese. Or maybe Hindi or Gujarati, Indian languages. Doesn't seem likely, does it? But then I'm in English school, so it's interesting. As power changes, then the language and the culture changes. So that may be true. But then there's always the case of what's useful, and as long as speaking English, speaking a common language is useful, perhaps English will continue. There is some comfort in history. If I think about the Roman Empire, the biggest, longest living European empire, their language was Latin, and people were still using Latin. Well, you can still learn Latin now, even though it's a dead language, called a dead language. You can still learn Latin, and it still has some use. Sometimes legal documents are written with a lot of Latin words. A lot of Latin terms are used in the English language. And if you can read Latin, you can understand a lot of French, Spanish and Italian and Romanian, which are all based on Latin. Anyway, my point is, even though the Roman Empire collapsed, people still, for 2,000 years, have been studying Latin. It's beginning to end now. So maybe English will continue for another couple of 100 years, no matter what happens. We'll see. Anyway, okay, I think we need to have 3 questions. Number 1, do you think English will continue to be the number 1 global language? Why? Number 2, if you didn't learn English, what language would be the second best to learn? And number 3, how could Japanese become a global language? What do you think? Right, I'm going to enjoy the rest of the evening while I'm waiting for lasagna to finish in the oven before the mosquitoes come out. See you soon.